Hey, and welcome back to Talk of Better Worlds. I'm Sir Felix the Cat, and this is Nerd Talk Thursday. It's a show where we take a topic we're nerdy about and kind of dive into it. This week, I wanted to talk about science fiction and why we here at Talk of Better Worlds are big fans of the genre. Whether it's TV, books, movies, comics, or video games, we're all about it. Well, we've got a lot to talk about, so let's throw that title card up. So, without further ado, let's grab our laser blasters and let's go. Science fiction is a very broad genre with many different subgenres such as steampunk and Tesla punk. Offshoot combinations like sci-fi fantasy and sci-fi horror. There are some huge IPs in media that are science fiction based, like Star Wars, Mad Max, and Warhammer 40K. New sci-fi rooted IPs are popping up all of the time, and we have such a rich history filled with them. And speaking of history, we should probably jump into that section of the video. The late, great Jane Foster of the MCU. We all love Jane Foster, don't we, folks? Well, she once argued in 2011's Thor that science fiction is a precursor to science fact. So, to properly cover the history of science fiction, we need to go back to the birth of science during the Bronze Age, around 3000 to 1200 BC. BCE. ABC, it's easy as 1, 2, 3. During the Bronze Age, when Egyptians and Mesopotamians first started recording natural philosophy, which itself led to the birth of natural science, as well as aiding astronomy and mathematics. Also, we need to mention the art of metallurgy that the Bronze Age is named after. Now, we are going to get into the debated parts of history. Modern science and its official start date is debated, so I'm just going to mention all these dates in chronological order, as to me, they are both equally important. The 1270s AD. Jean Bourdin, a brilliant scientific mind, in the 14th century theorized the notion of motive force and called it impetus. This is used to explain the effect of gravity has on projectile motion. Think of casting a fishing line, or the drop of a bullet that has been fired, or, say, a rocket ship trying to leave our atmosphere. Then, 1543 to 1687 AD, the Scientific Revolution. Growth in the field of science exploded during this period, leading to the shaping of society's views through astronomy, biology, chemistry, mathematics, and physics. Science continues to grow every day. I even hear there are these buildings where you study these textbooks about the subject. Who would have thunk? But now let's get into the history of science fiction itself. Here again, we will have a bit of debate on the very first example, so again, I'm just going to list them all in chronological order. 1608 AD. Johannes Kepler wrote Simonium, Latin for dream. However, it was not published until 1634. That in itself is the reason for the debate. This novel starts with Kepler himself reading a book that gave him a dream that starts off with him reading a book. So it's some sort of like bookception stuff going on here. In the book he is reading in his dream, it covers topics like demon summoning, as well as astronomy with traveling to the moon. In 1616 AD, The Chemical Wedding of Christian Rosenkreutz by Johann Valentin André was published. This book deals with parts of the Bible and alchemy. In 1818, we have Mary Shelley's Frankenstein being published. This is a story more people should be aware of. We have a mad scientist named Victor Frankenstein who assembled body parts of the dead and used his science theory to bring them to life. It's the story of a misunderstood being and a bunch of fearful people whose fear turns to hate. 1851. Chapter 10 of William Wilson's book, A Little Earnest Book Upon a Great Old Subject, coined the term science fiction, stating, "Science fiction in which the revealed truths of science may be given interwoven with pleasing story, which may itself be poetical and true." 1926. Hugo Gernsback founded Amazing Stories, the first science fiction-focused magazine. Hugo is also credited with making the term science fiction more socially known. 1938. C.S. Lewis released Out of the Silent Planet, the first of his space trilogy. The other two books being Paralandria in 1934 and That Hideous Strength in 1945. These may not be the first science fiction books to deal with space, as Simonian did cover that over 300 years prior, but this trilogy has had a huge impact on the genre in general. 1987. Warhammer 40k's first rulebook was released. Now, this is one that most people would probably not add to a list of historical events in the genre. However, it is very influential, as well as being a nice take on the sci-fi genre as a whole. Now, just fingers crossed that the planned Henry Cavill-led Warhammer 40k show on Amazon will turn out to be amazing. Well, that's enough of a history lesson for now. Maybe we will revisit that topic at a later date and expand on the history aspects a little bit more. For now, I wanted us to get, a little more familiar, a little cozier. Well, really, I just want to help you guys to get to know us a little bit better. Let you know what our interests are in reference to science fiction, what IPs really click with us. We got together and made a little list for you all. This is our favorite sci-fi shows, movies, books, and video games. So, let's start with Hawk, because birds first, even though birds aren't real. His favorite show is The Expanse. It's the realism in this show that really does it for him. It's a future he could see being possible. And it's just got some really cool looks to it. And it's a great piece of legitimate salvage. This show was actually canceled after season 3 by Sci-Fi and then picked up by Amazon Studios. His favorite movie would be Blade Runner, mainly because of the legendary acting. And with so many different versions of the movie, there are different endings. Some of those can be very thought-provoking. And the final speech by Rutger, the Tears in the Rain speech, that just does one. For a book, his pick would be The Three-Body Problem. He loves the concept of the aliens and their home system, and how realistic it feels in terms of time for space travel, and how aliens would deal with us given their tech, and humanity's reaction to it all at the highest levels of government. For a game, Hawk picks Mass Effect. Really, it's the series as a whole, but when prodded further, he did expand to say that it's the first game. It's a pretty quick decision for him to choose Mass Effect, because it's a future that he wants if we were to win. And it's so deep and rich in lore. Everything about that IP is just amazing. And now for myself. For a show, I'm going to choose Revolution. It was a short-lived show, only getting 2 seasons, but it's a very different take on the post-apocalyptic subgenre of sci-fi, with all technology being useless thanks to nanites causing a permanent blackout. The show shows you to be careful of who you trust. For a movie, I mean, this was a hard one, but I'm gonna have to choose Back to the Future. Marty McFly is just an absolute legend. This was my introduction to sci-fi as a genre, having watched the movie with my dad when I was just a kid under 10 years old. It's just always held a special place in my heart. For a book, I'm gonna choose Rim Runners by C.J. Sherry. This is the first proper space-related sci-fi book I ever read. And I read it twice back to back. I pretty much feel like I could run through Pell Station as though I'd actually been there. In it, Elizabeth "Bet" Yeager has to make the best of a bad situation, and that message just really sticks with me. And then for a video game, this was possibly the easiest question anybody could ever ask me. Hands down, No Man's Sky. I first played this on the PS4 in 2019, well after it had been fixed, because it had a pretty rocky launch. I put a good 80 hours into it and completed the main questline. Then, I got it on Nintendo Switch when it released in 2022. And from there, I proceeded to put in, just a meager 174 hours into it. It's that unlimited exploration and discovery, learning about the alien races and slowly becoming fluent in their languages so you can understand them. It all just keeps me coming back. It's really something that I could just play forever. Well, that's all I had for you this week. But let us know, what's your favorite sci-fi IP? Have you checked out any of the ones that we talked about? Are there any that we should know about? Is there anything in the history that needs to be corrected or added? Let us know down in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, take care. Hey, thanks for watching.
Give us a like if you enjoyed it, and dislike it if you didn't.
Let us know what you think about the channel.
And don't forget to subscribe.
Tell your mom.